Welcome, friends, to the second unit of our class, Entrepreneurship and Starting Your Own Business. As we've come through the business environment, and now we have a lot of information that we know, let's see what we can do to put that all together. What we're going to look at using is a situation analysis. This is a great tool anytime you're in a new job, promotion, or you're trying to start your own business. Let's analyze the environment around us. And as we do that, you would say, well, we have the company, your business idea. This could be your department of the organization you work for with that great new promotion. This is ourselves in many aspects as well. So this is everything we know about our company. This is what we want to put down first. Start with where you are. And as we look at the company, there are close competitors around us. These are the items that are close to us. We have competitors, customers, collaborators. I like to think of collaborators as those who can help us. We want to know everything about our customer. We should know quite a great deal about our competitors, either direct or indirect competitors. And then, of course, we all have to function and survive in a climate. And the climate could be economics, economic situation, technology out there, globalization, political, societal. And we should probably put in here any type of global catastrophes, because we are living in a pandemic that I believe we will just live through for probably the the foreseeable future, 10, 15, 20 years. This COVID will mutate and have new variants, and we're just going to have to live with it, my friends. And so how is that going to affect, again, in the way we work? So we have the internal and the external. These are what we would call the micro environment, very close to us, and the macro environment that just are going to play upon us. So let's keep fleshing this out. In that micro environment, again, a new business that you want to make, or a new department that you have just been promoted, or new job to. What can we find out? Everything about us, everything about our product line, our image, our technology, our experience, our culture, our goals. This list would go on until you feel like you've exhausted it, everything that you have. We also have our collaborators. Those are people who can help us. Suppliers. Friends, we need to define our supply chain wherever we're doing. So if we're starting that new side business, hey, you're going to have to get some supplies from somebody. So where would your suppliers be, and who can help distribute that product? Any type of alliances we have, certainly if you're in a big business and you're in your own department. Sometimes your competitors, a few of them can actually be a collaborator, because they may see you as non-threatening and small, and give you some of their smaller work that they just can't get done. And we've seen a lot of businesses become huge just because of that. Anyone who might be able to help us, all right? If you remember Ross Perot, Sr., in the Pro Industries, he worked for IBM for many, many years and was so good, he was outselling everybody. And back in the 50s and 60s, and basically they had to say, Ross, you need to slow down. You're making us look bad. You're selling your entire quota in 2 months. He goes, look, I have an idea. There's a lot of small. IBM was only using big computing for very large corporations. And he says, there's a lot of small to medium-sized businesses who need our services. You let me have my own division, and we'll cater to that smaller business that may become big. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for us. And they said, well, it's really not our deal. And so if you want to do that, all the best. And so he said, okay. He resigned and made his Pro Data Systems, which was called EDS, and sold that later to General Motors for several $billions. So again, sometimes those competitors can help you. If you are in a industry and you have a lot of suppliers, then that's good. If there's only one supplier for the product you're trying to either design or make, or the service you're trying to do, that's not real good for you. You want a lot of suppliers, a lot of competition, and that can be a great strength for us. Customers, my friends, for this business that you're going to make, you really want to know what's the size and the growth of the market that you are dealing with. All right. My expertise has been in service businesses, and I was in landscape design, landscape contracting, landscape services for many, many years. And as I look at someone wanting to do a side business there, even a pretty good sized business, full time. You look at Dallas Fort Worth area alone. Is it a pretty big market for that? Absolutely. There's at least 1 million homes in Dallas Fort Worth and Collin County, so you can pick the area you want to look at it. And I think there's a market size and growth because we are the fastest growing area almost in the nation, at least one of them. So that's what I would look at. The market segments, which we'll look at in target marketing. Who are we going after? If we're trying to be everything to everybody, we're really nothing to anybody. We've got to understand who that customer is and make a profile of them. What are they seeking? What's the motivation behind that purchase? Where's the retail channel? Where does the customer purchase and receive that product? And where are the information that they're going to get that? And for the bigger businesses, we really want to know this. Hey, for your own photography business, whatever it might be, we really need to flesh this out. The number one reason small businesses and big businesses go bankrupt or go out of business or just cease to exist is because they did not create value for their customer. Their customers will always change. Did the business that you have, the business you're working for, are they changing with the customer? Very, very, very big. The second reason is cash flow, but which would make sense because if no one's buying our product, probably not having any cash. Customers, again, what's that buying process? The frequency of the purchase is your idea a service business, which is a weekly service? Is it a yearly service, a monthly service? Again, how do customers change and what do they purchase? Everything we can know, my friends. And of course, competitors, actual or potential, direct or indirect, products, positioning, market share, strength and weaknesses of competitors. As I said, I was in landscape contracting and managed a landscape nursery for a period of 4 years. And our best customer were the older people. This was back in the early aughts, late 90s, early aughts. And we had that traditional generation that loved to work in their homes. Well, the millennial generation was coming up and was now buying homes. And they had no desire to spend the entire weekend mowing the yard, trimming up the hedges, planting new plants, planting new flowers, mulching their garden beds. That they wanted to have fun. And as you can see the picture, let's go out and hike, let's go do something fun. And so a lot of independent garden centers simply went out of business because the traditional person who was aging and maybe selling their home and going to retirement villages weren't there anymore. Understand who that so the competitor for us was really leisure activities. That was an indirect competitor and a threat that a lot of nurseries and garden centers didn't put on the horizon for them. That's why this situation analysis, I think, is so important. It's great research. Should be doing this at least once a year. Those who pivoted very well during the pandemic were able to look at how to create that value for their customer. So everything about the competitors would be great. And of course, the climates, we have those big macro factors in here, which are political and regulatory, the government, absolutely. What are taxes? What is political stability? Why is it so great to do business in Texas or versus New York City? Again, we look at the tax structure, look at the stability. Is it pro or con big business? Basically, the nation has always been pro big business. But everything we'd want to know, if we're going into an international market, these become very much more important because of the stability of the country that we may want to do business with. Many times other countries will simply say, you don't get to wire money out of the country unless you go through one of our banks. And you can't wire 100% of it out because you've done sales here. So very interesting to learn that. And of course, economic environment, what system are we working with? Well, hopefully for our side business, it's more than likely going to be very local and we're in a great area. What's the skill level of the workforce? All right. There's something to be said about colleges and universities, and a lot of them in a certain area. That means employees, children, have access to better themselves and get the best type of employee, period, which is DFW. Fantastic. The business cycle, the inflation rate, growth rate, consumer confidence. Again, everything that you learn in the business environment now can be put to use. And of course, what interest rates are doing in consumer confidence. We talked about consumer confidence. If people are feeling good, have a good job, money in the bank, money that they know is coming in, they don't mind borrowing. They don't mind expanding, buying new purchases, treating themselves to different things. If it's a negative confidence where I don't know if I'll even have my job next month, then we tend to be very tight with our money. DFW, one more time, my friends, gross metropolitan product is $520 billion annually. Again, we would be the ninth largest economy in the United States, the largest state, and would be a very large country. I mean, that's more than most countries, smaller countries, can produce just in Dallas-Fort Worth alone. So, good stuff. Getting bigger, getting better, population, real estate, no state income tax, U.S. central location, world-class airport systems, and the great entrepreneurial spirit. So if you are, and you are, thinking about what could I do, am I in a good place? Hey, if we were in Detroit, Michigan, we probably would have a whole different set of circumstances. If we were in some of the areas around the United States that have just seen so much population loss, it would call brain drain. Some of the smartest of the employees have left to go to here or somewhere comparable. So great area. Social cultural environment, very important. What are society's trends in fashion? What is education and culture, attitudes towards health? If we were doing a restaurant type of business, a food truck, would we want to look at veganism or any type of healthy foods? That would be a very smart move because we've seen that for 20 plus years. We know that a plant-based diet, a healthy plant-based diet, not just potato chips and wine, but a good, healthy, plant-based diet will improve your quality of life, help you live longer, but help you live, happier and stronger. So that would be very important to have at least side menu items that are going to be very healthy, if not the entire restaurant itself or food truck itself. And of course, the social and cultural environment. We want to look at aging in the United States, and we have a lot of generations. It's very important to understand, especially for those of us in the workforce, because we've got we'll look at the youngest group, so to speak, which are the Gen Zs, all right? Sometimes we call these centennials. I like to call them zillennials. If you were born probably 1997 to around 2000, maybe 2001, you could maybe identify more with the millennials, but you also are in that Z generation just coming into the workforce right now. It's very powerful. If you're born from 1980 to about 1996, you're what that millennial generation is. Some call it Gen Y, and possibly parents right in here are Xers or more likely baby boomers. Then you have that small generation, what was called Gen X. That was kind of 1965 to 1979. This was the lowest population we've had in this century, more than likely, since the big baby boom generation. So smaller generation. Then we've got the baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Yes, they are huge. They're the largest spenders. They are right about in their 60s right now, if you want to look at and up. So they're probably not going to retire because they like to spend a lot. They've got the Social Security. They've got a lot of great benefits that unfortunately the bottom generation, or I should say generations up here, especially millennials and Gen Z, may never see, such as retirement and Social Security. Then you've got those traditionalists right in here who went to war and survived the Great Depression. And then you've got some of those still hanging around here, 1900s to 1924. That was the generation that basically brought forth the traditionalists, fought World War I and possibly even World War II. These are huge right in here. Millennials were about 80 million. Gen Z may be 75 million. Baby boomers were 75. Gen Xers were less than 60 million born. So again, kind of the squashed generation between the two huge ones. So again, where might your customer be? Think of it that way. Am I going to a very young group? I'm going to one that has more money. Unfortunately, Gen Zs don't have the purchasing power right now because in school and just starting out. Do I want to hit the baby boomers who have a lot of discretionary money and probably bought their nice big home for $60,000, $70,000, which is now worth probably 400,000 to 500,000, depending on what area they are, at least in Dallas Fort Worth. So interesting. It's a good way to start. Where might my customer be, and what are the values in that cultural environment that these generations maybe cling towards? Technology, you know, disruptive technology, how fast things move. And of course, we're right in the area of artificial intelligence, and it's growing leaps and bounds, and that's some of our competition right there. So again, if that's some of our competition, how do we compete with it, against it? And that would be through superior value added service, the human touch that hopefully it'll be a few more decades before artificial intelligence gets to that. It may not be a few decades, maybe just a few years at the rate it's growing. But technology always changes, and so we understand that wherever business or organization we work for, we're probably going to have to make more significant investments just to keep up. And especially if you're going to be doing ordering systems, or you're going to be using some fintech to get your transactions going. Disruption, I like disruptive technologies, and I think this is important. Will technology disrupt the way equipment is made or used for your business? If I go back to what I just said, I had started off very young in lawn service before I got into landscape contracting and design. And there's your typical, it's a big business, friends, right now. There's a lot of people that I know that can easily have close to $100,000 income because their crews are doing about 400 or 500 lawns a week. I mean, it's mow, blow, and go. And you think about a lot of people who like to have their lawn cut. They don't want to have a big, loud, gasoline-powered lawnmower, because if you have your own gasoline-powered lawnmower, you got to have gas in the garage and oil, and that can stink up a garage. Also kind of dangerous, especially then you've got to put the gas tank in your trunk of your car, go get it filled up. And, for so many people, they just said, I would rather have a crew do it. But as we look what has happened to lithium ion batteries, and this is Echo's line, it is all power line of just rechargeable batteries. And one battery goes at all. Not only does Echo have it, Ego has it, Home Depot has their brand, Lowe's has their brand. These types of equipment in the power and lawn garden area have really been tripling every year. So now I see, and as I read through the internet of people who have bought this, it's usually the baby boomer or somebody older says, I used to love to cut my yard, but I didn't want to mess with all the gasoline heavy equipment. Now I just charge a battery. These equipments the mowers are extremely light, and so I don't need self-propel. It's fun to mow my yard again, actually. And I've seen in my own little neighborhood, because I have that equipment now, and people come up to me and said, "Wow, that's not even as loud as a vacuum cleaner." I know it's great. I can mow the yard in an hour, and of course that's in my blood because I love to do it. And I've seen so many more of my neighbors and other in neighborhoods and online people saying I get control of my yard because these were mow, blow, and go. And you've probably seen crews come up, and within 15 minutes they're out of the yard, and it looks good for about a day, but it's not that manicured look. So if I were one of these businesses, I would say this is something to put on my board, my horizon board, so to speak, as possible threats against it. This is what a disruptive technology can do, and the technology gets better and better every year. The batteries will last a full hour, so you can get a full mow or trim. And again, it's very painless because we've taken out a lot of pain with what a mower like this would have to do. So interesting to think, whatever business are you in, what could disrupt it? And maybe that's the future as well. There's your mow, blow, and go. That is a robotic lawnmower that basically mows all week, and then you can set it to where it can mow every day, and it will put itself back into a little there's like it will drive right up into a recharging station, and then you just do a little trimming yourself. But you see, again, people, I like to mow my yard again, and this is a big one. Works. I think that's also an Amazon brand, because I see it on Amazon quite a bit. So you can just get it drop shipped to your home in 2 days. And again, and for those who really love yard work, they've taken this out. So how can disruptive technology change that? Globalization, of course, the accessibility to foreign markets. So if you're starting a business that's going to be more online driven, maybe you'll be an Amazon supplier, or a seller, or eBay seller, or Poshmark, or Etsy. There's so many avenues out there, and you're going to get your products from Alibaba and start selling those different areas. Again, those are some things we'd want to look at. Certain those exchange rates of currency, which we've gone over in the class. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take my college employer, what I work for, and do a quick situation analysis on this, because this is a great way to start your business idea. And so if I was to say Tarrant County College, what do you know about Tarrant County College? Well, the brand is very well known. Probably there's be hard pressed if someone's lived in Tarrant County for at least a few years to not have never heard of Tarrant County College. We're open access. All right, we serve not only college students, we serve the community in a variety of ways. We're 25 minutes. The goal of Tarrant County College, those who founded it, the founding mothers and fathers, basically said if someone's in Tarrant County, they shouldn't be in any more than 20 minutes away, and sometimes that's as the crow flies, to a Tarrant County College campus. I think we've done that. We are very strong financially. We offer 60 plus degrees generally in a semester. We're not that this semester, but we have seen at least 50 to 60,000 credit students per semester on a fall and a spring. Again, the enormity of courses that we have. Hey, once you go to if you transfer on to a university where we may have we may have 20 different sections of intro to business, probably more than that. TCU has like 2. And UTA may have 3 or 4. I mean, we offer it at times that is very convenient, because that's our mission. And of course, we know 75% of our students transfer. Our funding model is the strongest. Anytime a consultant comes in, and there's a lot of consultants that come to Tarrant County College to do some audits, they said you are in the best financial position that we've seen any community college, and that's usually our first hurdle, is to look at a college's balance sheet, and it's in such bad condition that we've got to figure out ways to get more money. We have 1.5 billion in cash reserves with that new bond issue that was passed a couple of years ago. So if we need to get something, if we need to make a new campus, which we're doing on Northwest Campus, we can do it. And few schools can say that. Are there competitors? Yeah, absolutely. Private schools, of course, other universities, but Coursera is gaining a lot of strength, my friends. Healthy workforce, that's kind of an indirect competitor, because when you can go out and get a $15+ an hour job, you know that hurts our enrollments, because people are working and they don't feel they need to really tackle their education right now. And of course, YouTube, at some point, is going to be a very disruptive force that hits all colleges. And when industry says, we're not so interested in accreditation by one single entity, which is, we're going to say, as long as it meets these standards and we've actually got the curriculum, that could be, again, some of the big tech companies, for a variety of jobs, you're going to be fine. That could be a big disruption. Of course, our collaborators, we work with everyone in the local community. School districts are huge. The community, our local universities, we have a lot of transfer agreements with. Chambers of Commerce, business industry, We are well networked and tapped in to the community, probably better than most universities ever will be, just because we have to. It's what we do. We have our customers, we have business and industry, we have private teaching, traditional college students, such as ourselves, seeking affordable training and transferable courses. And so we've got customers, and of course, we have you, the student, who is really not a customer because you are our product. You're what we send into the workforce. Economic climate, yeah, we've got it all. National headquarters, and again, I think a big reason a lot of national companies come into Dallas-Fort Worth is because they know that their employees are going to be very smart because there's such great access to education. Not only that, their employees' families have access. I mean, we went to Shreveport. My sister lives in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's LSUS, and it's a Bossier City Community College. There's not a lot of options to get educated, and so you can see different regions in the United States, even in Texas, that do very well. We look at Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Again, lots of different opportunities to get educated. Societal trends, here we are, and our main students are now the Z generation. All right, it's an innovation economy, knowledge and skills, high school. You know, back in the day, high school education got you a long way, and unfortunately today, it may or may not. And we know it's lifelong learning. So again, we do have, even though we do have a lot of Z generations, the average age at Tarrant County College is somewhere around 27. And those of you who are in night classes understand that. You know, we service a very big spectrum. Technological, hey, disruptive technology is coming. So we try to hit that with online. I hope you like the blended course. We've got to be able to change at that speed. And of course, if we're looking on the horizon, what would college look like in the year 2030? Political, regulatory politics, yes. We have the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Whatever updates they give us, it's always changing. The funding that changes. Thank you for 2019, right before the pandemic just got its grips on everything. We hit a $850 million bond election that was passed unanimously. And of course, there's the regents of Austin. So yes, there's lots of politics in education. Every politician thinks they know how to educate somebody. So that's a quick snap of a situation analysis, why it's so important, and now, because now we can basically use that with all that great business environment education you have. A business model was what we're going to look at in this unit. We're going to make one. It's a method by how we sustain ourselves in the long run. Basically, how we're adding value and how we are generating revenue. It's pretty basic. And yet, if we were to go back to 1995 to the year 2000, we had about 98 to 99% of all those online businesses that hit so fast because the internet was just blowing up couldn't make it. They could never find where their revenue was coming from. They gave a lot of value out, but it was basically for free. And so as we go into the business model, we're going to look at customer value, segments, price, revenue sources, implementation capabilities, and sustainability. Friends, I think you're going to enjoy this. And what I also know is that in life, someone is going to come up to you and say, hey, I want you to partner up with me. I want you to invest in my business idea. And you're going to say, oh no, how do I get away from this? Maybe it's an old friend from high school or from college or from a friend of the family. Those are usually the best that come at you. And you say, okay. Hey, I'd like to see your business model. And so better have all of those bullets right there done. So the more you understand and create your own business model, you're going to be able to judge others as well. So that is our first video for this unit lesson. The next one we'll come back and we're going to look at, well, how do you actually form it? What are the forms of business? Just some of that. Which one should I? Is it sole proprietorships or corporations? We're going to look at all that in the next video.